Bedrooms, 3.5 bath.
To the city streets, we began to feel the fire. We ride.
We're on the road again, and this time we're going to an open house for this brand new development. It has multiple types of units to include condominiums and some other types of units. So I'll take you along and show you as best as possible, because I know that some of you are living overseas and you're looking to procure property here in Jamaica. So I just wanted to take you along and show you what some of the options are and possibly talk to you about what's required to procuring property, especially if you are in the US and you want to do it with a loan from Jamaica, which I actually recommend, because when you're in the US, you earn in US dollars, and if you're paying that mortgage or that loan in Jamaica in Jamaican dollars, then you benefit from the unfortunate depreciation of the Jamaican dollar. As an example, at the end of last year, or earlier this year actually, the dollar was trading at $155. Now it's all the way up to $158, I think $159. So let's do rough math. If you had $100,000 in the bank, it simply means that with a $4 appreciation from 155 to 159, that's 400,000 Jamaican dollars that your money increased by just because of the devaluation. So it makes complete sense for you to work and earn in US dollars and pay loans or mortgages in Jamaican dollars. But what I'll do as I'm going along is I'll take you through the process of procuring a loan here. I'll take you through, what is going to be required in terms of an income statement, especially if you are an entrepreneur, or if you're even employed, this should apply. And the process does seem like it's lengthy, but when you know what is expected and you pull it together up front, then it makes it much easier. So we have now stopped at, what's this called? Fesco, to get some soup and some snacks. And then it's gonna be probably another hour before we get to our location. And then I'll show you, and throughout me showing you, I'll talk to you more about the different steps that you'll have to take. So we're on our way. Let me just show you a little bit of the roadway. It's a sunny day, not my favorite kind of day, but still blessed. We can't complain, because there are many places in the world that don't have sunshine today, so we have to be grateful. So first, we need to gather some documents, and let me tell you what the bank typically will need. Some of them are pretty obvious, like proof of identity, which is either your passport or a government-issued ID. Then you need to confirm your earnings. Now, if you are employed, this is much easier, because you can do this with either a letter from your employer, or you can do it with pay statement backed up with a letter. Sometimes they require both, depending on the financial institution. Sometimes one is good enough. If you're self-employed, it's a little bit more complicated. So I recently had to go through this exercise for a business that we were starting. It wasn't even a mortgage, but it was required based on the type of business. You're gonna need to provide audited financials that confirm what you're earning, what your expenses are. In some instances, the banks will also ask for your last tax return. So if you are working overseas, your business is overseas because you're an entrepreneur there, and you're applying for the loan here, you'll need to submit your tax returns for your overseas business. In some cases, they may also require a letter, especially if your reports show that you don't have enough cash flow coming in to cover for the mortgage or the expense. because of something that may have been one-off as it pertains to your expenditure. They may need a letter, and this letter is best from a CPA or a certified financial controller. However, some banks will take it from a regular accountant, and this letter will basically say that this is what you have earned. If you're doing a letter, you have to also back it up with the actual earnings, whether it's the bank deposit to confirm that earnings that's in the letter, or something to show that that letter is real. You'll also need some proof of address, which a utility bill is usually sufficient, and it needs to be the same address that's on all the documents that you're submitting. A credit report, believe it or not, a few years ago, a credit report wasn't a thing in Jamaica. Now it is. And they are using an international credit agency. Very easy to get the credit report. You can actually get your first one free on the website that most of the banks here will give you to download the credit report. And they'll also download their own copy of your credit report even after you submit yours. Not sure why the two is required, but it's their process. A down payment is typically required, anywhere from 10 to 20%. What I find is that a lot of financial institutions, they will advertise that it's 100% loan that they're giving you on the mortgage. But when you go in, you hear, oh, it would be good if you put down a 5% or 10%. Just go in with a frame of mind that you may need a deposit, and it's usually 10 to 20%. I, however, always negotiate. Back in the day when we were taking mortgages, we would negotiate to not have a down payment. And in most cases it worked, but not in all cases. Debt to income ratio. Now, this is where the bank is going to request details on all your loans and financial obligations. What they want to know is based on the income coming in, do you have enough disposable income to cover this mortgage that they're about to approve or that they're considering you for? Property valuation. Now, the good thing about a property is most times the person who is selling it will have an up-to-date valuation. But if they don't, you need to ask them for one, or depending on the seller, you may have to get one yourself. So that is a required part for the submission. Now, the bank has three processes. The pre-approval process, which is where you submit the documentation. Then you need to complete a loan application or a mortgage form. And this sometimes include or will need to include an affidavit stating your earnings for individuals that are working overseas, like I mentioned earlier. And then there is the last stage, which is the approval of the loan after they have gotten the affidavit. Now, you'll need to engage an attorney. Let me rephrase that. It's recommended that you engage an attorney. Now, I have engaged attorneys in, I'd say, quite a few transactions when it comes to either procuring land or procuring a property. What I found in all cases, and this may be my unique experience, is that there usually not much changes. It's more like providing administrative services, being the point of contact that the other lawyer reaches out to and so on. Because even in the last transaction that we did, there was a clause that was missing as it pertains to when the property would be turned over to us, and it was left open. And I caught that, and you know how I caught it, believe it or not? I took the sales agreement that was sent by the seller's lawyer, I put it in ChatGPT, and I gave it a prompt that said, identify all the risks associated with this purchase, call out every notable item, everything that I would need to know, and everything that could potentially cause an issue, and bulletize it for me. And ChatGPT gave me a bulleted list of everything, and ChatGPT said, here you go. You are saying that you're paying for this property, but there's no commitment required in the sales agreement from the seller to say they will hand over this property at this time. So because of that, I made the decision to stop paying legal services for property acquisition because 90% of the time, no change is made to the sales agreement. And in the cases for me, I actually found the change that was necessary. Now, I'm not telling you you should do this because that's a risk that you're taking on that could potentially cost you a lot of money later on if this is not done right. I'm just sharing how I do it. And because of that, I say I'm saving that 2 to 3%. But do make sure you're evaluating your circumstances and making decisions that are best for you. Don't follow Odetta. It's basically what I'm saying. Now you're going to engage the services of an attorney, and they're going to help to vet the sales agreement, to provide the schedule as to when the deposit is required and all the other payments. And the lawyer will also do a title search. And this is just to make sure that there is no encumbrances, I think the term is, or legal claims on the title. They'll also request a surveyor's ID to make sure that there's nobody infringing on your property or vice versa. You are not infringing on anybody's property, because that will cause you to have major issues when it comes to getting the title. Now we're on to the title and the conveyance process. Now here is the transfer of ownership, and this is where your lawyer will submit the required documents to the NLA, which is the land agency here in Jamaica, to start the transfer process. And when I say your lawyer, this is usually the seller's lawyer. And then you're going to be required to pay a stamp duty. It's not a lot of money anymore. And some registration fees. Also, there may be commitment fees that the bank is asking you to pay. Let me tell you a little secret. Whatever they tell you the commitment fees are, negotiate it down to 50%. Most banks will do that. Don't tell them I told you so, though. But in my experience, it's worked every time. Think about it. What in the world are they doing with this commitment fee thing? Anyway, try your luck. The surveyor's report is going to be required, like I said, for the transfer process. I'd mentioned it earlier. And then the completion of the title transfer when your name goes on the title, but that's going to be after you pay over all outstanding amounts for the property, whether it's the land or the house or whatever it is that you're buying. Then when that process happens, in the payover part, if it's the bank, that's when the bank actually approves everything, because they have to see the paperwork coming in from the lawyer, and then they're going to disburse the loan, and then they're going to register the mortgage. Now, remember that there's some post-closing costs that you'll need to consider, like the title registration, house insurance. I'm going to actually do a video to talk about house insurance, because I used to recommend it wholeheartedly, but these days we had a bad experience, so I'm waiting to complete my investigation before sharing it. But it may be required. Also, you're going to have monthly payments related to your mortgage. If you have a HOA, which is whatever fees you're paying on a monthly basis to maintain the property that you live in, that may be an expense that you have to take on. And now, I am not a financial advisor. I may have missed out a few steps. So I recommend that you talk to your loan officer. Every bank has loan officers that will walk you through these steps. Why I'm sharing this is because I believe if you go with these things ready, it makes it so much easier for the loan officer. So that's it in terms of what I can remember. I'd written down a few things in between me talking to you earlier and now, so hopefully I've captured everything. Anything I missed, the loan officer will cover. And I'll tune back in when we get to the open house to show you what that particular development looks like.
Is on the shoreline, sand between my toes, sunshine on my island where the good vibes flow. Resorts and blue waters, palm trees standing tall. In Jamaica splendor, I hear the ocean call. Oh, that is in Jamaica, where you vacation to, living like a dreamer in a land so cool. Laughter in everything so bright. Oh, Dallas in Jamaica, where you vacation to, living like a dreamer in a land so cool.
So it's actually three and a half bath, 4 bedrooms. Bedrooms, 3.5 bath.
Sunshine in the morning, cool breeze in the night. Island keeps on blowing, feels so right. Waves crash on the shores, palm trees swaying too. Dance to the reggae under the moon. Jamaica, sweet Jamaica, paradise by the sea. Jamaica, sweet Jamaica, home for you and me. Warm sand on your feet, colors bright and clear. Smiles from the heart, love is near. Come on in, let's talk today. Questions answered every way. Knowledge shared with laugh and play. Odetta united, hey. From your screen right to your heart, every story's just a start. Education's now an art, let's all take part. Empower, educate, entertain. Every question, every gain. Together we can reach the sky. Odetta's here to help you fly. Come on in, let's talk today. Questions answered every way. Knowledge shared with laugh and play. Odetta united, hey. From your screen right to your heart, every story's just a start. Education's now an art, let's all take part. Empower, educate, entertain. Every question, every game. Together we can reach the sky. Odetta's here to help you fly.